Hi, everyone, and welcome to today's episode of the Soul Call with Kelly B. I'm your host, Kelly Butchert, and today I am joined by this beautiful soul, Joanna Choncer. Joanna helps high achieving holistic entrepreneurs to clarify and confidently articulate their unique expertise so that they can build and scale an aligned and profitable brand that stands out and creates deep impact. What makes Joanna different is that, unlike many visibility coaches who focus on helping with merely visibility strategy, she's focused on those who have struggled internally with visibility too. And through a bespoke blend of inner work and emotional mastery, Joanna helps clients show up with confidence and a high vibe so that they can magnetically attract their soul clients. Joanna, it's such an honor to have you on today. Thank you so much for joining me for this conversation. I'm so excited to have you here. And that
Oh,
beautiful
thank you.
bio, is there anything that you would like to add to that, Joanna?
Oh, I said to you before we joined this recording, I said this is going to be probably a very deep conversation
Oh, yes.
about bringing, all of our soul gifts from the outer realms into this 3D reality. So I'm just going to go with the flow and I think allow the conversation to take us, and probably what needs to come out will come out.
I love that. I love that. Now, I'm going to start by saying that I am so, so grateful to be in your world, Joanna. So I'm going to rewind time here. I think we'll probably reverse engineer this conversation in parts. But if I go back to when I first trained with Candice, who I've had on my podcast as well, so please check out that episode, everyone, if you've not listened to the wonderful Candice. So Candice trained myself in silent counselling. And through working with Candice and learning about this amazing methodology, you meet other people, beautiful people like yourself. So you were in Candice's world as well, Joanna, and that was how I learned about you and your work. And there was something about you when I heard you talk in person at one of Candice's events last year. I just knew, every cell in my being was like, you need to step in to work with Joanna. Now, most people that tune into my podcast know that I was in education for 22 years. Latterly, I was a head teacher. So making that step away to start a business was a big jump. It was a big leap of faith, if you like. And I've worked with a couple of coaches already that have got me started. And there's one in particular, Senga, who I've had on my podcast as well, who I will always be in Senga's world. I adore her. And then I heard you speak, Joanna. And this is the bit that you mention in your bio. This is the bit that makes me stand out. This is the bit that makes me unique. And since I've started to work with you, that has very much been the message that you are giving to us inside your beautiful container, your
Mm.
coaching container, your amplified visibility. It's about really, really focusing on our unique soul gifts, which is what I talk about as well.
Yes.
But it's harder to do, I have found, when you are looking at it from a business perspective. So I've taken that shift from, that was my identity as a head teacher, knew what I was doing, or so I thought, stepping away, and then this accelerated speed of learning how to be a one-woman band, doing the techie bit, doing the showing up bit,
Yeah.
speaking your truth, putting together offers and services and knowing how to frame all of that up. So what I want to say, first of all, is a huge thank you to you, because I have learned so much since I have come into your world only recently. And what I said to you, if you recall, when I met you at Candice's event was, you trigger the hell out of me, Joanna. And I meant that in such a loving way, because I talk about triggerings being awakenings.
Mm,
So you had
absolutely.
awakened something in me that was lying dormant that I wasn't quite fully embracing and embodying. So I'm so blessed to be in your world, to learn so much from you, and I've recommended you to so many of my friends who are all saying the same thing as well. I would love for you to start from that place, Joanna, to talk about what what makes you different. How have you learned that that's the thing that has made you different? And how
Mm.
do you take that and teach that to others?
Oh, I love that question. As you were saying all of this, there were so many ideas that were coming to my head. I think what I've learned over the years, um, coming from background of believing that I wasn't unique, that I was defined by the country I came from. I was defined, let's say, by my story, which I know we're going to talk about later on. I came to UK thinking that I was only meant for what the society believed I was meant for. And I always felt the sense like I think I've always been a kind of a rebel, more courageous now than ever before, because there are parts of my soul who that just don't agree with the standard, copycatter approach of living life, running business, building relationships, etc., etc. I tend to question a lot of things. And when it came to even just questioning myself, like, what is it that I'm really meant for? How I look back at all, my entire journey, I love it all. Yes, I am a visibility coach right now, but I actually started as a cleaner when I first came to the UK. I then moved into working in catering. I then moved on to, doing management. I've always been very good with people, which funny enough, I didn't believe I was, but everyone from the outside always used to say, gosh, you're so good with people. You're so, communicative, you listen to people, you give them amazing feedback, etc., etc., and so on and so forth. So when I look back at all of my journey, I actually love it all, because what it really taught me to see in myself is that there is something special about you. And you have to be willing to to give yourself time and space to see that apart from your external experiences, there's a wisdom. There are innate gifts that you came to this world with. And the more you actually give yourself chance and opportunity to discover those and release the labels of what you had gone through, just like you said, with your teaching um, experience and everything that you lived through that time, and actually really just allow yourself to ask, it's like, what is it that I'm here to do? You will realize that there is always something unique about you. Your story is very unique, right? Everything that you did is very unique. Nobody had that same journey like you. Your gifts are very unique. You may have skills and qualifications and things that you learned, over the years that are very unique. You may have people around you that made you a very unique person. And what I realized, I think my mission here on this planet is through, discovering this myself and then working with women at the very beginning of my coaching journey was to really help them realize that you yourself can stand out amongst 9 billion people. There are 9 billion people, or however many people there are, and I would be able to speak to every single one of them and say, this is what's unique about you. This is what's unique about you. This is what's unique about you. Which to me instantly allows this to release any competition, release any need for, I am better, you are worse, I am this, I am that. If we actually just go with, like, I'm unique, and this is coming from a place of absolute self-love and self-appreciation and self-acceptance, like this whole journey of needing to heal ourselves, needing to be a certain way to be accepted in the society would just disappear. So I hope that answers your question.
I love that. Oh my goodness, there is so much in that I could, really unpick further. And what you're reminding me of in my life, Joanna, is how important every part of our journey has been to
Mm.
to bring us to where we are now. It's all been part of this beautiful journey. And I believe that we've often, we've come back from the future because we think of quantum time and we've left ourselves
Yes.
breadcrumbs to pick up the pieces
Mm.
to learn the parts that we maybe didn't master before on our soul's journey, or the bits that we wanted to experience again, or the bits that we wanted to help others with. And so I love, love, love everything that you've shared there. And when you were talking about, I'm really, really good, I now know that I'm really good. When it doesn't matter who I speak to, I can see their uniqueness, I can see their gifts. And I was going right back to when I was a head teacher, and that was what I used to say to children, that they were each individual, they were all unique, they all had a special role, and they were not here to be these cookie cutter, replicas of
Absolutely.
each other.
Yeah.
And I guess that's been part of the societal and cultural programming that we've all experienced. And so I love that you've described yourself as a bit of a rebel who's really curious, who'll break down the barriers, who'll ask lots of questions, because until somebody puts their head above the parapet to say,
Oh, yes.
"Ah, wait a minute, there's a different way. We don't need to fit in this box, or we
Yeah.
don't need to identify with this label. All we need to be is us, but we need to discover first and foremost who we are." And
Mm.
I guess a big part of that is through our lived experience and through the eyes of others, the relationships with others, we get to know who we are. And so your journey, as we've heard, you've been a cleaner, you've worked in catering, you're now a visibility coach, a very successful one, and can I say you're an awesome one? Um, who knows what comes in the future as well. But this
Exactly.
has all been part of what you talked about, your story, and we all have powerful stories. And that was one of the things, Joanna, that you helped to remind me of how powerful our stories are. Because when I first started, I was showing up every Wednesday, doing a Facebook Live inside my Facebook group, talking to my people because I felt safe there and I could share, these wisdom teachings. I could share bits and pieces about my truths, my lived experiences, and I loved it. The energy was just wonderful. And that for me felt safe and it felt good. And I really look forward to doing it. What you're now challenging us to do is go out there more publicly in a lot of ways to share our truths. And I totally understand and get why that is, because we need people to be leaders, don't we? We need people to speak their truth with authenticity. And so, again, I want to thank you for that, because although it's pushing me again out of, the comfort zone into my
Yeah.
courage zone, into the
Yes.
just bloody do it zone, it's getting out of our own way. But coming back to the power of our story, I thought that, no, everybody will be fed up hearing my story now. I've talked about my story, I've talked about my story, I've talked about my story every Wednesday. But when I think back, nobody ever told me that. Nobody ever said that. I was always getting beautiful, positive, loving
Mm.
messages after my sharings. And this next part for me is about to, change again. It's about re-engaging with my story and the power behind that and my lived experience. But you have also generously shared your story inside some of these beautiful containers that you hold, Joanna. And you run a free masterclass recently, which I was part of as well, and it was just phenomenal. Um, I would love if you could. I said at the start we would reverse engineer this story. You didn't grow up in this country, and when you
Mhm.
shared your story, I think everybody was like really, really touched by the power of your story. So we talk about living, learning, and leading with soul on this podcast channel. I would love if you could share what you feel comfortable about sharing about your personal story, and that will
Yeah.
give us a sense of why you show up and who you are today with all the wisdom that you've brought.
Yeah. It's funny when you say, we've talked or we've shared our story so many times, and like every time I'm invited to share my story, I said, okay, how do I tell the story this time differently, right? Because like every time I share I share this story. It's almost like a layer, another layer kind of comes in and really just allows me to see another dimension of my story. And I think just before I share my story, like this is a really important bit. You know, when I say to my clients, every time you will share your story, you will see and feel and embody another puzzle of it. And it will allow you to see that next step in your soul's journey. Because how it all began to me, um, you know, when you were describing kind of what I do, emotional mastery. So I grew up in a household which was, to me, looking back, very emotionally disrupted. My dad was going through a very challenging journey of being addicted to alcohol for many, many, many years, and growing up next to him and missing the father figure for, I would say, majority of my teens affected me on an emotional level. You know, there was a lot of guilt, a lot of shame that I was holding on to my body. And I realized, even just kind of looking back at the bits and pieces of my story, when I kind of like how I got into silent counseling, how we then met. So I used to go through a lot of health problems because of growing up with my father, the way he was, you know, holding on to that guilt and shame took a lot on my physical health because I just didn't know how to process any of these emotions, how to deal with them. So I would just bottle them in. I would use food to suppress it. Later on in my teenage years, I actually started smoking. I would go out a lot. I would party a lot. I would drink a lot as well, all to push it down. And when I was 33, 34, I believe, maybe a little bit older, by that time, I've already qualified as a functional nutritionist. I was really, really passionate about helping women with skin and gut health issues because that's exactly what I was experiencing myself all throughout my teenage years and then, you know, late 20s, early 30s. And I decided in 2020 that I was going to take my business online. I was seeing clients online already before that. But in 2013, I actually came across a really powerful healing modality called theta healing, which allowed for the healing process of dealing with the emotions, dealing with the trauma of growing up with my father to begin. And I did a lot, you know, I did a lot of healing work for those 7 years until 2020. And I felt that I was finally ready to be seen. It was never really a dream of mine to actually work with people, funny enough. I never had a desire to go public. I never had a desire to be a speaker, to be invited to, you know, conferences, etc., etc. It's funny how it all, you know, works out. But I guess it was a part of my soul plan, right? To take my emotional healing journey out there. And in 2020, I hired a business coach. I invested over £15,000 into a program. And I thought, okay, let's take this idea of bringing nutritional therapy together with energy healing and help those women who are struggling with chronic skin and gut health issues holistically, because nobody was doing it at that time. And I thought I was ready. I was prepared. I invested. I was like, I'm going to get visible with this business. And a couple of months in, actually, it was very, very quickly in the journey, in our journey together with my business coach, who told me that my message was too spiritual. She said, nobody's going to buy that because what people want is they want help for their symptoms. Nobody cares about how you're going to help them. So if you go with the spiritual woo stuff, they're just not going to buy it. And stupidly, I believed her. You know, I've been doing spiritual work for 7 years prior. I felt like I was owning it. And she told me, like, no, we need to tone the message down. So I've listened to her. I've invested over I think 5,000 extra pounds into Facebook ads. And over the next 2, 3 months, I got clients coming into Clarity calls, 12, 13 of them, I think, and none of them bought. And I just couldn't figure out why. It's like, I want to help you. Like, I have an amazing solution. But every single one of them was saying no. The more I was posting online, the more questions, the more doubting, the more criticism I was getting as well. And around that time, without really realizing why, I manifested this eczema all over my abdomen and my back. And it wasn't going anywhere. Like, as a functional nutritionist, I was, using food elimination, I was using steroids, medication, healing. I mean, whatever was possible, I did it, and it wasn't shifting. And on that program, I met Candice, who we both know, and she overheard me sharing on one of our group coaching calls that I wasn't getting any clients, that I was getting frustrated, that I cannot, be myself, I cannot be spiritual. And on top of that, this eczema was driving me crazy. And she offered me a session. She messaged me and said, Joanna, I think I can help you. And without thinking twice, I said, okay, let's do this. And she said, do you know what silent counseling is? Silent count? What? No, but I am open to try it. Like, I'm at this point where I am, about to pull my hair out, and like, this is not even allowing me to sleep. So we met on the session, and she told me what we were going to do. She said, we're just going to breathe. We're going to touch some points on the body. I already knew what kinesiology was, so I knew how to muscle test. And she said, we're just going to listen what your body has to say, because there's a message. There's a reason why this eczema is there. So we're going to find out what's going on. And I remember this very, very well. In the session, the first point that my body said to go to was under the eye, which is obsessive worry, fear, and anxiety. And she directed me to close my eyes. We manifested, we muscle tested that it was coming from the age of 7. And I immediately kind of knew what that could be. But as soon as she got me to close my eyes, I was taken back to when I was 7 years old, and I was performing at a what we used to call mini playback show. It was kids impersonating singers and music, pop artists. And I chose to impersonate Kate Bush. Nobody, like, out of my class at the age of 7 even knew who Kate Bush was, but I was a huge fan of her. I loved her music. And I chose to perform her song. And there were 2 groups of contestants, myself and girls, a group of 5 girls. And when it came to voting, I remember standing in front of the entire class, 31 people. And when the teacher asked, who would like to vote for Joanna, only one hand went up. And I remember just in that moment, I wanted the floor to swallow me.
Mm-hmm.
I felt this shame. I felt this immense disappointment as well. But in that moment, what my body registered, it wasn't even my mind, my body registered and created this belief that it's not safe to be you. It's not safe to be visible. It's not safe to be authentic. So let's lock it in and never show your true self again. And, as we were breathing, all of these emotions just came up. I started crying. I was bawling my eyes out. And as we were doing the session, I truly, truly understood that, yes, I was doing a lot of mindset work for 7 years. But what about the body? All of that fear, all of that disappointment, that guilt and shame was still locked in my body. And I see that for so many women out there today where, we do a lot of mindset work. Yes, we want to earn 10K months. Yes, we want to have amazing, thriving businesses. Yes, we want to travel the world, whatever the goal is. But oftentimes the body goes, I don't want that. It's not safe. The last time we did something similar, you were feeling this way. Our brain, as call it like a CCTV camera, which scans for danger, goes, this is dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing that. And fast forward, I love the modality so much. My eczema literally cleared within a week of doing that session. So I was absolutely blown away. I said, oh my gosh, what is this? I decided to become a practitioner. 6 months later, I became a trainer. And it was really when I fully implemented the modality into my coaching business and my nutritional business, my clients were shifting like I'd never seen anything like this. Women who were procrastinating with finishing their coaching programs would write 2 in one day. Women who have suffered with imposter syndrome for years and years and years would go the very next day and start having business conversations, generating, six-figure new clients. Women with severe chronic pain who are told by doctors that they wouldn't never be able to function properly, all of a sudden, are able to come off medication and just be fully present in their business. One of which I really, really remember, because her dream was to become to be featured at a New York Fashion Week. She has a fashion design brand, and she was chosen within literally a few sessions of us doing the work. She was chosen to be featured at a New York Fashion Week, I think it was 2022. And we just celebrated the heck out of that because it was just amazing. And that's kind of how this whole visibility, coaching idea, I remember it was just one day. It's like, you need to help women get visible. And now, as I'm doing more work now, I realize that women are not just women. Women are these power creators. And the reason why it is actually predominantly women who feel scared of being visible is because of all the backlash, back in the days, back in the centuries, back in the lifetimes where our creative, powerful energy was deeply suppressed. We were often punished for that. We were often killed for that. And I guess it is part of my mission to bring each of everyone's story and help women change the frequency of the world.
Wow. Even how you tell your story is just so succinct. It's so beautiful because there's so much depth in the wisdom that you carry, that you hold. And there is no mistake in life, is there? There are no mistakes that, because I believe we choose our parents. 'Cause my
Mm,
background is very similar to yours, Joanna. So my father was an alcoholic too, and there was alcoholism elsewhere in my family too. So I was surrounded by it. And there is guilt and there's shame, and there's, even though your parent may be physically there, they're not necessarily emotionally
yeah,
available to you. So growing up and what you learned about yourself through the teens, gave you that rebellious streak, I guess, to then channel that in a different
yeah.
way. So none of it's a mistake.
Mm,
And then finding yourself now as a visibility coach was never your plan. And this is what I love, because this is the divine masculine and the divine feminine, because the divine feminine, which you're talking about here, women are incredible when they're in their flow, when they trust their intuition. So despite that coach saying to you, your message is too spiritual, like, what are you doing? Your intuition knew that you had been guided to theta healing for a reason.
yeah.
And then Candice, who was in her divine feminine flow, reached out to you and said, why don't you? I think I can help you. Why don't you try? And so taking the divine masculine energy to step into that action to say, okay, I'll step in to do this. And how this is all woven together and brought you to this place now where you have just brought all of these gifts, your learned experience, to now show up as Joanna Choncer. I'm not big into labels, but we in society use labels, don't we, so that we know
Yeah.
we know then what we kind of do. So just now I'm calling myself a soul purpose coach. That may change, but in essence, it gives people an idea of what our
Mm,
work is. So you're visibility coach and energy master. And what you've beautifully described there is how you show up in your divine feminine and your divine masculine. So you trust your intuition and you follow it, and the divine masculine comes in with the action. And so you've put these beautiful containers together. You have a membership, you have coaching programs, you have one-to-one offers, you provide free masterclasses. I would love if you could, Joanna, to talk a little bit more about how people can step into work with you, because
mm,
I absolutely know that after hearing you today and this beautiful story that you've shared, they will feel your energy. They will feel the authenticity from you as well, that you're not somebody that's gone and learned this out of textbooks. Yeah, this is your lived experience, and that's the most powerful wisdom that anybody can bring, for someone else. So please, please, please share, if you will, how people can step into work with you.
Sure. I thank you for asking this question actually. And it's like I'm gonna, have a little spiel about the containers, but what I just want to share, which came to me this morning as a download. And it's interesting because I've been talking about this for years now, since really coming across silent counseling, especially for women who do desire to get visible. And it's kind of a little bit multi-layered because I really realized if you have a desire, you know that there's a bigger calling for you and you want to help people, that's great. Keep that on one side. Yes, there might be desire to learn the strategies, to learn how to nail your messaging, to nail actually how to build your business, how to run masterclasses and all of that, divine masculine. Great, hold it. But my message, I think, to everyone who may feel the pull to work with me or to come into my world is to focus on this one thing first. It's the emotional mastery.
Mm.
Spend as much time, and I'm not going to say, spend a lot of time healing yourself, healing your emotions, etc. But I can honestly say and guarantee and tell you that your business is going to accelerate so much faster. You are going to be able to take action and implement all the strategies that I may share with you so much faster if you're emotionally ready for this journey. Visibility journey is not an easy one, right? You probably know this yourself,
I
Kelly.
do.
It will
I
it
do.
will pull you towards seeing aspects of yourself that you may have been avoiding for years. It will push you to face the bits of you that you have been rejecting for many, many years. And in my world, you will be pushed to face these aspects. You will also be encouraged and supported to work through these uncomfortable emotions, because I truly believe that we can truly, truly, truly be authentically visible when we can say, yes, I am this. This is what you see on the social media, but I'm also this. And I fully embrace that. There's no pretending, there's no holding a mask on. What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
People often say I'm often very blunt, I'm often very straight to the point, I'm often very boom. And I do that because I want for you to see the greatness, your own greatness, as fast as you can.
Yeah.
And for you to see your own greatness as fast as you can, emotionally, you have to be ready to see that.
Yeah.
That's why, like today, there's been a massive invitation, even for myself, to really almost upgrade the boundaries, but not the boundaries of letting people in, letting people out, but to really hold a different vibration about my visibility brand. And, I'm really, really focused on calling women who, yes, they might be afraid to seeing those aspects of themselves. Yes, they may be feeling the resistance, but there is something inside of them that goes, let's do this. It's not going to be an easy journey,
Yeah.
but I want to see all aspects of me. I want to embody them so that when you do learn how to embody all aspects of these, you can then and only then really show up as a powerful leader. This process is never ending, so don't get me wrong. Like, you will learn how to embody different aspects of your soul fragments as you go, but make sure that you are emotionally ready for the work.
I love that. If I can just come in here, Joanna, and say that this was why I was triggered, because when I decided 3 years ago to step away from my job, many women have worked for corporations, or big organizations. So, although I was showing up as a head teacher, had all the confidence to speak to hundreds of children, staff, parents, I had trained myself to do that. But there was still comfort in the fact that I was part of an organization.
Mm.
But meanwhile, coming home in the evenings, I was providing intuitive readings and healings and doing all the work that I really loved. And so I called myself an underground healer. And so going back to what you mentioned earlier about women, especially, we are these incredible creatress beings. We create life, you know, and we create our life first and foremost.
Yep.
but we have had so much persecution over so many lifetimes. And so, what we are breaking through bit by bit with what you're describing as the emotional mastery is really what I would describe as releasing the light within our DNA again, reactivating and remembering who we really are, and that we
Mm.
don't have to hide anymore. We don't have to apologize anymore. And that it's not coming from, of course, ego. And I don't think of ego as a bad thing either, because our ego is our personality, it's our shop front. If we're coming from lower ego, then we have a problem. But, from a good place, it's getting over that fact that it's not egotistical to show up. And we don't have to be scared anymore. We don't have to hide away anymore. And so to make that shift from being a head teacher to heart teacher. So it's
Mm.
dropping down into the body. It's coming out of the mental body where we, that's got us so far, but that's the place where we burn out. We become
Yes.
depressed. We become overwhelmed. We're trying to juggle everything and we're in the masculine all the time, dropping down into her body and connecting with her heart and really asking herself, what is my truth? Let's show up and speak my truth. Let's present my truth for what it is. Let's release all the judgment around all of it. And let's lovingly embrace who I truly am. And when we do that, I always believe that we're showing up for our ancestors too, those who came before us, because we are them, we embody them. They are us and we are them. And so I love how you bring all of that and you're not, I'm so glad that you didn't listen to that coach, because you have embodied your uniqueness, because you know that in the depths of your soul, you've got all this wisdom, the wisdom of your ancestors, and you are this beautiful spiritual being who also shows up to show others how to step in to their emotional mastery, to show up being really visible. And you do it in a very blunt way, which triggered me too, because it's not like this soft approach. It's like, I don't have time for that. I'm ready for people
Yeah.
who are absolutely not holding themselves back anymore, not apologizing for who they are. And because you see other people's greatness, it's like we are ready to see it ourselves, but we need a bit of support from yourself to show us how to do it. So, some of the emotional mastery with the divine feminine, but also a bit of the what I've learned along the way about how to do the tech side of it, how to frame things up, how to step onto social media. So I just love the journey that I'm on with you. And I stepped into your amplified visibility container, but you have other ways to work with you too. So please, please, please share away how people can
Sure.
step into work with you, Joanna.
Sure. So various ways from, free resources, which are available in my academy, as well as on YouTube, Instagram, kind of my social media presence is quite wide with, resources of how to get a taste of, of being in my world. Um, the next stage is my Visibility Vortex membership. So it's actually a monthly membership where I teach bits of the emotional mastery around messaging, sales, and just showing up. And then if you're really, really, really ready, like Kelly was, and she said, Joanna, I have no time to waste. You've triggered the S out of me. I'm ready for the journey. That's where the Amplified Visibility 6 months group coaching program is sort of the next best step. This is really where we clarify, articulate that unique expertise of yours, where we really build the business from the ground up, your offers, your messaging, your online social media presence, where you get to learn how to launch, how to do your own masterclasses, and really just build a solid feminine brand with that masculine support, because that's what I've noticed. That's kind of is one of my missions. I'm not just about energy healing. I'm not just about the fluff. Yes, you will be loved and supported and cuddled up in my containers, but you will also get a nice big kick up the butt, because like you said, Kelly, I see your greatness, and it breaks my heart to see that many people think that they have a lifetime to do that. We don't.
No.
We don't. Time
Yeah.
is limited,
Yeah.
and you know, if you really feel the call and you said, oh my gosh, yes, that's really speaking to my soul, that would be the great container for you to step into. And one-on-one is probably my most exclusive, and this is really reserved for people who I would call it, I don't know what, like we used to, when I come from where I come from, Poland, I don't know if you had that in the UK, you know, the old washing machines where you had to kind of like use the thingy to swirl the laundry around, and then we had the thing that you put the clothes through to rinse all the
Yeah.
water out. I feel like that's what my one-on-one container is for, where I literally just help you strip away any of the BS, any limitations, really share the knowledge and the mastery around the emotional regulation, and you know, showing up as your powerful self. And that's kind of where you get my one-on-one focused support on all of the aspects of mindset, messaging, your mojo, your energy, your momentum, and your mission. So that's kind of how people can work with me.
Amazing. And you've provided all your links, Joanna, as well. So I'm going to drop those down below this episode. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend to anybody to step in to work with you. I am just, as I say, loving this journey. And so look out, people. There are going to be more, you'll see changes to how I show up again. And, there may be more Facebook Lives coming your way as well. But you'll see all the learnings and teachings that I'm putting into place by working with Joanna. And here's to us women who are no longer,
Mm,
and men, because I know that you work with some men as well.
yes.
But here's to us, showing up unashamedly in our own authentic expression to make this world the very best it can be for us and for everyone. We're doing it for us all. Yeah. Joanna, thank you so much for coming on today. I've
Oh, thank you
absolutely
for having me.
loved having you here, and I'll see you very soon again. And I really, really, really hope that everybody that's tuned in today has learned something really interesting about themselves and are feeling, yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to step in
Mm.
and show the world what I've got, what my special soul gifts are. So thank you once more, Joanna.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. It was absolute pleasure, you know, to talk to you outside of our coaching container and have that little discussion. And just one message I want to leave listeners with. Remember that people will only see as much of you as much as you're willing to see yourself. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.